Praise be to Jesus Christ. We are on the 30th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Jesus today shares with us the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector who went up to the temple to pray. Jesus gives this parable to challenge those who look at themselves as self-righteous, the holier than thou, while despising other people as sinners. Our society today is full of Christians with such a mentality of always criticizing others, maybe because their sins have gone public, or because we have been brought up to look at certain groups of people as sinners and thus not worthy of God's attention. One only needs to open the social media and see how the so-called holier than thou Christians deal with one another, and especially with those who have fallen or those who have already been publicly condemned as sinners. It is a very sad state of affairs. So many people today hate Christianity because of us Christians, and especially because of our judgmental and self-righteous behavior. As always, when Jesus tells a parable, the goal is to invite the listeners, us, to accept, to revisit our lives, to freely accept to change and to make a shift in our point of view, to change our way of seeing things, and definitely to change our way of living. The parables of Jesus trigger us to encounter ourselves, to challenge ourselves, and truly to accept to make a journey of transformation. In this case, today's parable must help us to challenge ourselves. We must do some self-criticism in order to be able to challenge how we perceive things, for this is what faith is about: learning to see things as God sees, learning to have the mindset of God. We can easily spot ourselves in the two men that went to the temple to pray, the Pharisee and the tax collector. Let us begin with the Pharisee. This man was full of himself. He turned the opportunity for prayer into a moment to praise himself. In fact, for 5 good times, he repeats, I, before God. His is not a prayer to God, but a focus on himself. He is boasting before God of how good he is, how he does not sin publicly like others, and most especially like the tax collector next to him. He boasts of his rigidity in the observance of the tiniest of the laid down rituals and regulations. Jesus is simply saying that God hates such a mentality. It is a selfishness that makes faith to look so ugly and unattractive. How common is this mentality in our society and in our churches today? How many people have we condemned of being unworthy before God? Often in the society, a brother or a sister falls into a certain sin or even into a certain addiction. What we do as the so-called self-righteous Christians, we condemn and condemn and condemn them till death. How many groups of people have we already tagged them as immoral and thus already booked and condemned them to hell? If we look deeper into our lives, are we in any way better than them? Their sins might be known, their sins might be public, ours are still private. Does this make us any better before God? The second is the tax collector. He knows very well that the society already regards him as a public sinner. He, however, does take serious the opportunity he has in the temple to revisit his heart, to try to be authentic before God. In the presence of God, he feels his smallness, and instead of even raising his eyes up, he beats his breast and asks for God's mercy and forgiveness. It is this second man, a public sinner, that was able to pray to God. And because his prayer was genuine and authentic, the parable tells us that he went home justified. He went home a transformed person. He was not so much concerned about the sins of others, but about his own, and the need to reconcile himself with God. The paradox of the Christian faith is that, as Jesus says, the first will be the last, and the last will be the first. The proud, those who exalt themselves, will be humbled, and the humble, the lowly, will definitely be exalted. Jesus hates the cosmetics of appearance because it is the real corruption and rottenness of the soul. And that's why he always uses harsh words and harsh examples to condemn it. My dear brothers and sisters, how come after many years of commitment in my church and joining so many groups and even making uniforms for all these groups, I still don't experience any transformation, any reimagination, any change of mindset? I don't experience any growth. Before God's presence, do I take time to do self-criticism, or am I only full of myself and usually concerned with criticizing the failings of others? Do I humble myself before God by presenting to Him my poor self as I am, without hiding or even coloring some things in order to look attractive, while in reality I am not? The worst sins that can befall a Christians are that of pride, self-righteousness, and that of condemning others. Today, let us ask the Lord to transform our way of looking at things so that we can begin a journey to maturity in our faith. And may